Maybe one of the biggest surprises that we saw from last night, and maybe one of the biggest reactions from the crowd that we heard and saw from last night, was the return of Dr. Britt Baker. Interesting enough, Mark, that the fans throughout that match was booing Mercedes. Like, they did not want to see Mercedes beat Stephanie Valkyrie last night. They were definitely behind her, and they were booing the hell out of Mercedes all match long last night.
Yeah, they were booing her, and I was wondering to myself, is it more profitable, Dave? And Bully and I, and sometimes, you know how him and Tommy share the fat brain? Me and Bully share the greenback brain. We think about the money. Dave, I just wonder if it's more profitable to have Mercedes be nicer to the fans, to have Mercedes be more of a baby face, if you will, or at least don't be an antagonist. But
Mark,
it was good to see the reaction for Britt, because you know what I thought to myself when I heard the reaction?
What?
It's good for business. You can sell that. And despite personal feelings or level of respect for the industry, she good for business. And I think that we won't get the heel Britt Baker. That we'll get more the fan favorite Britt Baker. Somebody with cachet has got to be the good guy. Everybody can't be bad guy.
Bully, your thoughts on the return of Britt Baker and
I
where
want
it
you
goes
to
from
listen
here.
really, really carefully to what I have to say.
Okay.
You guys, the nation, your sister's ass, listen really carefully. Mercedes Mone is a heel. Period.
Yeah.
I'll say it louder for the people in the back. Mercedes Mone is a heel. Period. There is nothing about Mercedes that makes me want to like her. Zero. Yes, she's very good in the ring. She's a good wrestler. I'll give Sasha that. But when it comes to the character and the way the character is portrayed and what she does, heel, heel, heel. She doesn't even know how to talk like a babyface. Her tone, her cadence, it's condescending, it's everything. It's I'm better than you. It's about money and looks and cars and being at championship games and everything. It's about being a red carpet A-lister, both in the wrestling ring and out of the wrestling ring. Doing things
better than you.
I'm better than you, and doing things like
You're
fans like
me.
you wish you could do.
Right.
And oh, by the way, chant CEO for me when I come out. And let me show you my dance moves and do all this and show you my bling. This is not personal. This is an assessment of the character. There's nothing about her that says babyface. It screams heel. And now all of a sudden, out comes Britt Baker, who, by the way, looks phenomenal.
Yeah, she was working with DDP, doing the DDP yoga, and it definitely shows. She looks, like you said, phenomenal, no doubt.
In shape, not that she's not ever in shape, in better shape. Hair was curled up and banging, makeup on point, gear looking good, the whole nine. Now, how would you guys rate her reception last night? Her pop, her ovation. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I would give it a 10. It was, to me, the biggest pop. It was the biggest pop of the night, Bully.
So,
I really believe that.
So Dave LaGreca
It was actually bigger than the finish.
There you go. We're saying that Britt Baker got the loudest reception, the loudest pop of the night. Now, Sometimes a pop that big is just because they're getting a return and a surprise. Do you think that the pop was that big just because she was the surprise or because it was actually Britt Baker?
I think it was a combination of the both, but I think you have to factor in both because time will tell, Bully. I'm interested the kind of responses she'll get moving forward, but I'm gonna guess that the fans are gonna be 100% behind Britt Baker moving forward.
Britt Baker to me is one of the 4 pillars of AEW. When they did that whole 4 pillars thing with the men, with MJF and OC and Jack, and I forget who the last one was. They should have included Britt in that storyline. She's as much of a pillar of that company as anybody else.
First hire.
There you go. First hire along with Darby Allin.
But it's a work, though. The whole pillars thing is a work. Like, your employees. And because you was first don't make you the best.
No, I understand that,
It
Mark.
means
What
you
I'm
was
saying
first.
is she is as important to the AEW roster as any men were at that given time.
Yes, true.
Point being, I have no reason to dislike Britt Baker. Britt Baker we were calling her, I'm talking from a character point of view, we have no reason to dislike Britt Baker. She had the matches that she had with Thunder Rosa. She wore the crimson mask. At one time, we were calling her the face of AEW.
Yeah.
We heard the ovation last night. The promos between the two are very, very easy. Bitch, I've been here from day one. I'm not allowing you to waltz back in here and just take ungodly amounts of money and ungodly amounts of time and thinking that you run this joint now. I'm Britt Baker DMD. I am AEW. The babyface promo that Britt can cut is very easy. If Britt Baker thinks that she is a heel, she needs a fucking lobotomy. Britt Baker is a babyface as of right this very second. And they should continue.
The crowd says DMD. They don't do that for heels.
She is a babyface. She should be used like a babyface. She should be given verbiage as a babyface. She should be doing babyface stuff. If I was Britt Baker, the very first promo I cut in an AEW ring with this return, if she's face-to-face with Mercedes, I would have Britt Baker tell Mercedes, you know what, Mercedes, hold on. I'm going to go hang out with the people that actually mean something to me in this place. I would have Britt Baker jump the guardrail and go cut her promo in the middle of the people. That's how you make a babyface. Go up amongst the people, go sit with the fans, cut your promo right there, and tell her, this is what you're up against. You're not just up against me, Britt Baker DMD. You're up against an entire fan base of AEW fans who I have loved from day one and who have loved me from day one. And I'll be damned if you're just walking in here and taking everything from us.
Yeah, but Bully, if you want to make her maybe even the biggest baby face in all of AEW, you do just what you just said. If she really embraced it, she could be the biggest baby face in the company without a doubt. I really feel, and Bully, we had this conversation years ago. This isn't new. We had this conversation. You know, you and I had a conversation coming out of when you saw that crimson mask on Britt Baker, that she could be the face of AEW. And again, it didn't work for Saraya. What makes you think it's going to work for Mercedes? It's not. Saraya walked in, and what did Saraya do? Saraya walked in and took a microphone in her hand, thought just because she was a star in the WWE that she was just going to walk in and become a star in AEW. And the AEW fan base said, that ain't happening.
And all Britt has to do is remind the fan base of what Mercedes recently said in an interview, where she said, I'm paraphrasing here. Maybe you know a little bit better, Dave. she said, yeah, I'll hang out here for 3 years and then I'll probably go back to the WWE.
And she didn't say it exactly that way, but that's how people took it. As soon as you're saying, like, I'm sure I'll find my way back there again, then people think that you're not 100% committed being a part of AEW. That's just fact.
Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
That is a grenade. That is a howitzer. That is a cannon bomb for Britt Baker. All Britt has to say, AEW fans, if you don't believe me, this is what she said. She is eventually going to turn her back on all of us. And when she does, I'll still be here like I was from day one. There's your baby face.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% because...
Dave, how are we both agreeing with Bully? Has that ever happened before?
No, because what he's saying makes absolute sense because...
It makes perfect sense to me.
When you look at Britt Baker and if you look at MJF, if you look at Will Ospreay after the conversation I had with him yesterday, in order for a company to succeed, you're going to need people that are loyal and are willing to run through a wall in order to make that company succeed. You know, Bully always talks about ECW. Bully, I hope I'm not speaking out of school, but that entire roster would have ran through a wall. If Paul Heyman said run through a wall, you probably all would have ran through a wall to make sure that company succeeded. You need people like that in AEW, and the fans want people like that in AEW. They don't want people that are going to be there for a cup of coffee or made their bones with another company. Like, they want people like MJF. They want people like Darby Allin. They want people like Britt Baker that are, you know what? MJF committed himself to AEW. I think the fans know when it comes to MJF that he could have probably went to WWE, but he committed himself to AEW. Britt Baker's one of those people. So it's going to be impossible for the fans to turn their back on that and start cheering for Mercedes. Embrace it.
If Tony Khan, Mercedes Mone, and Britt Baker try to fight this, they're very ignorant and foolish. Listen to the people. Dave, as you said when you started the segment, they were booing Mercedes Mone last night in her mouth before we even see Britt Baker. So it's not like Britt is the reason why they're booing Mercedes. They're booing Mercedes because the honeymoon phase with Mercedes is over. Now, I was very impressed by the way they presented this match with Steph. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Vakir?
Yes.
With Stephanie Vakir. I love the way, as a matter of fact, I took to social media twice to put over, I love the way AEW told the story with the packages. I thought they made Stephanie Vakir very credible with the championships. Great job by AEW building this match up.
Yep. It was good.
I thought that after Mercedes won the match, she could have given a little bit more credibility to Stephanie Vakir's offense and stayed down instead of popping right up into a beauty shot as if you just had a squash match, because you didn't. You were in a fight. Stay down and sell. It can't hurt you. Now you're getting booed out of the building, and now we get Britt Baker's music, and the place, as Pat Patterson would say, they went banana. Banana. So you're telling me this is the biggest pop of the night. I tend to agree. Bigger pop than Swerve retaining his championship. Bigger pop than MJF. So if I'm sitting there, if I'm the boss and I go, well, this returning lady just got the biggest response in this arena.
It's hard to argue.
I'm strapping the babyface rocket to her back. Now, there's a part of me that believes Britt Baker would rather be a heel. I hope that Britt Baker, after she heard that response, smacks herself in the face and goes, okay, honey, you're a babyface.
Yeah.
If she comes out and tries to cut a heel promo, in my opinion, unless she were to cut the greatest heel promo of all time, in which she could turn the people around and get her to hate her, I don't think it's very productive.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Bully, I just wanted to go back because I want to give credit, but I also want to make sure that I have it right because I don't want to speculate. So, Mercedes, soon after signing with AEW, was on the Evan Mack podcast, and she said this. This is the line that went viral. She goes, "I know I'm going to be back there one day. It's not over. I have a lot of unfinished business in wrestling in a lot of places." Now, when you're an AEW loyalist, that's the last thing that you want to hear.
The very last.
Listen, it's just like a free agent coming to a team. You want to just say, listen, that's the past. I'm 1,000% committed to this team. I'm 1,000% committed to AEW. That's the only thing that a fan wants to hear.
If in the 80s or 90s or 70s, 80s or 90s, when Yankees Red Sox was like a truly heated rivalry, if somebody from the Red Sox got traded to the Yankees and you said in New York, you know what, one day I know I'm going to be back in Boston, what would the New York fan base do to you?
They would spit on him.
Man, they would. Man, I hate to think the worst, but I'm thinking the worst.
If you were a wrestler who, first of all, if you were a wrestler from WCW or the WWF and you stepped foot in the ECW arena, you were in a war zone, and you should tread lightly. There's a lot of stories of guys who stepped into the arena who almost did not make it out because. And if you were to ever cut a promo in the ECW arena or do an interview that said, one day I'm going to be back in the WWE, the ECW fan base would have turned their back, spit on you, turned their back on you, would have done anything and everything to make sure you failed, and Paul knew it, and he got you out of the company.
Now, listen, and Saraya made that same mistake when she came to AEW. She thought, repeating her resume in the WWE was going to get over to the AEW fan base. AEW fan base does not care what you did in the WWE. We all know that anyway. It's about what you're going to do here and how committed you are to being here. What you did somewhere else doesn't mean shit.
When you talk about heat, this is the ultimate heat. You joke around about being married 3 times. Imagine the heat. If you said, you know what, man, my life is perfect. I love my wife. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. But you know what, man, like, I know my ex-wife is very fond of me, and, she possibly wants to get back together with me. How much fucking heat would you have? It would. Man,
I'd be dead. I wouldn't wake up. That would be the end of my life.
Man.
Like, I wouldn't even. I'm not even going to go there.
Dave, you talked about,
and I'm glad you won't. But that's the equivalent of what she said to a fan base.
Yeah.
Dave, you talked about Saraya reminding the people of what she did there and trying to be liked and loved as a babyface. That only works for a heel. If I were to ever step foot, if me and Devon were to ever step foot into an AEW ring, I would tell the people, I don't care about my IWGP Tag Team Championships. I don't care about my WCW Tag Team Championships. I don't care about my ECW Tag Team Championships. I don't care about my TNA. I would tell you that I didn't care about every Tag Team Championship. But let me tell you the Tag Team Championships that meant the most to us. The WWE. Once you do that and go, the WWE, instant heat, light the place on fire, add gasoline, the fucking place is going to explode.
I'll use
call
the
police. Call the police. You're going to need them.
Bully, I'm going to use you as an example. I was there at the Manhattan Center for a TNA show where you and Devon re-signed with TNA, and you talked about, and I'll never forget, you were like, this is you didn't remind people what you did. You were telling people what you still wanted to accomplish. And those accomplishments were with TNA. And then you had the WWE contract, and you ripped up the contract, and, you know, you had the entire sold-out crowd chanting TNA. You're one of us. Yeah, you're a Hall of Famer with another company, but within these walls, you're one of us now. As soon as you start telling people what you accomplished someplace else, then all of a sudden you're trying to retrain our brain to appreciate you for what you did somewhere else. And I don't know if Saraya ever recovered from that. Like, I don't the intent wasn't to have Saraya be a heel. The intent was, I believe, to have Saraya be loved. She never was able to recover from that initial promo.
And
oh my God, Dave. I just thought to myself, why didn't she get over like I thought she was going to get over? And that's it. They still remember that shit.
It's just they went in another direction. They went in another direction. Listen, she had that great moment at last year's All In. That's fantastic. But, I mean, Saraya, I think we all agree, from who we thought Saraya was going to be to what she is now, I don't think that we ever would have thought that. We thought that she would make a much bigger impact in AEW than she has. And Mercedes is in danger of going that same way if they don't embrace the hate, Bully. Bully, last night on commentary, they were making excuses for the booing. They were making excuses for it. And it's the biggest bullshit excuse I've ever heard. I almost wanted to run there to the commentating booth and start swinging. You really think that the Long Island fans were booing Mercedes because of the New York-Boston feud? Are you fucking shitting me? Come on, man. Come
Dave,
on.
You know how much heat you would have got if you would have swung at Jim Ross?
Well, it wasn't Jim Ross who said it because he wasn't on commentary yet. Jim Ross wouldn't have said that. Jim Ross wouldn't.
No.
Now, if Forbidden Door was in Yankee Stadium and Mercedes Mone was wearing, a Red Sox jersey, okay. But, dude, that was a stretch. How about just saying, you know what? These fans ain't going to fall in love with Mercedes. They're in love with the homegrown Britt Baker. Don't sell me that fucking New York, Boston shit. In Long Island? In fucking Long Island? Please. That was a fucking stretch, Bully. Stretch.
And we have noticed, and I have noticed, commentary have to go out of their way over the past couple of years to protect AEW from itself when it comes to certain aspects of their show. I'm going to want to go back to the Youre One of Us. That is the basis and the foundation of my Britt Baker promo, in which I want her to be in the audience. I want a Britt Baker entrance. I want a Mercedes Mone entrance. I want them staring at each other. I want the people to be able to soak in Mercedes and Britt face to face. They might even be chanting, "This is awesome." Who knows? But I want Mercedes to say something first, like, "Oh, you decided to come back. Oh, so nice to have you back, Britt." And Britt just look at her and go, "You know what, Mercedes? Wait 1 second." Britt gets out of the ring, jumps the rails, goes up in the crowd, sits in section 102, row 15, seat 7, and she stands there and goes, "Mercedes, I just realized something. You will never be one of us." And when I say one of us, I mean me and him and her and him and her and this, and points to everybody in the crowd. Because you know who we are? We are AEW.
AEW.
And we have been AEW since day one. Do you know who you are? You're an AEW wannabe who walked out of the WWE because she couldn't get her way. And now you're here.
Ooh,
if you couldn't make it in the other place, you really think you were going to come here and make it here?
That's the babyface promo for Britt Baker. That's it. And what is Britt Baker actually doing? She's telling the truth. And now you have Mercedes sell all this shit with her face. And now you have Mercedes telling Britt, I'm going to take everything from you, and this is what I'm going to do to you. And you know what? You know what, Britt Baker? Screw you and your AEW. That's it. There you go. Off to the races.
Billy, there is nothing that Britt last night could have ran into the ring and pulled out all of Mercedes' teeth, and the fans would have went ape shit and would have went nuts and would have cheered and would have been chanting DMD. There is nothing that Britt Baker could possibly do to get that fan base right now to turn on her. And by the way, Bully, if you really wanted to present her as a heel last night, are you doing all the pomp and circumstance like they did? Are you shooting off pyro and playing her music like they did last night? I mean, that's not exactly the way to bring back somebody you want to boo. That's obviously somebody they want to cheer.
And now if you really, really want to get crazy, now let's start having some fun with this angle, this story. Now let's start thinking into the future, right? Britt is starting to get the better of Mercedes one day. And guess who comes down to help Mercedes Mone to beat up Britt Baker?
Who?
Saraya. Because they have the WWE tie. Mercedes is the one that almost ended Saraya's career. But Saraya realizes that Mercedes is the way to go because we've been to the mountaintop and we know what it's like to be true stars. And then when the both of them are beating the shit out of Britt Baker, who comes and makes the save for Britt Baker? Thunder Rosa.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Bully, stop it.
What's Tony Khan's number? I'm calling Tony Khan and telling him
Stop
to hire
it.
you.
I'm calling.
I'm
calling. Text him. He won't
text
return my
Tony
call,
Khan
bro.
right now and tell Tony to hire Bully.
Good luck.
And there's your stories.
I love it. God.
Hey, Bully, you in your motherfucking bag today, man.
And while you're at it,
I was pat him on the back. Look, I'm patting Bully on the back. You in your bag today.
And while you're at it, hire Becky Lynch. Yeah, Becky Lynch will be part of it.
Oh man.
Seriously.
Oh.
I love it. But Bully, genius, man. Because, they obviously don't want to go with Britt and Thunder. They had their opportunity and it never happened, which we all felt would have been box office for AEW. But imagine like Thunder and Britt got together, even though they despise each other, just because of their love and loyalty to the AEW
And
brand.
now the underlying tone of the story is WWE women versus AEW women.
They tried it before and it failed. This would work. This would work.
You never bring that to the forefront. You never mention it. You never have to mention it because we know what it is. You don't force feed it.
It's implied.
Correct.
Yeah, and you don't even you're right. You don't have to mention WWE. You don't have to it's just like, it's just Thunder saying to Britt, listen, Britt, I know we've had our differences. You've said some things about me publicly and privately that at some point I want to whip your ass. But right now I want to align myself with you because these outsiders think they're going to just walk in and take our spots. They think they're just going to walk in and main event the biggest shows just because of what they did with another company. We're the ones that built this company. And you know what, Thunder? Thunder says to Britt, you know what, Britt? I'm gonna give you your props. You were the one that was the foundation of this company, and I want to align myself with you. I love it. And I hope they go in that direction because you know what? The last thing, and we to bring the WWE into the conversation, we know when they tried to force feed ideas and wrestlers and storylines down fans' throats, the fans reject it. Case in point, Roman Reigns. But when you let it happen organically. And listen, if The Rock can turn heel, Mercedes Mone can turn heel. Because, you know, quite honestly, there's no bigger heel in AEW right now based on what I heard from that crowd in New York. And note to Excalibur, the Long Island fans don't give two shits about the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry.
Hey,
they're Met fans. They're Met fans, Excalibur. They're fucking Met fans. They don't give a shit about the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry, okay? You may be able to use big words. You may be able to say words that I've never heard of before. You got your fucking encyclopedia. Well, look up Red Sox-Yankee rivalry. It ain't Long Island ain't the fucking Bronx. Okay? It's not the fucking Bronx. It's Met country in Long Island. It's right next to Queens. Who plays in Queens? The Mets. All right?
Dave.
And by the way, it's a hip toss. Okay? It's a hip toss.